All right, Peter McGuire from XM, good morning to you. Well, that was quite the finish for Wall Street on Friday. In fact, the Nasdaq up by 0.5%. You wouldn't have thought at midweek that we'd, finish on that positive note for big tech.
Well, good morning, Nadine. No, you certainly wouldn't have. I tell you what, it was a choppy week. It was great for traders and they saw plenty of movement. And when you saw the Nasdaq, it was up 2.66, even with those head count slashing across the sector. But yeah, Dow up 1%, S&P nearly up 2%, and a very, very strong evening. Great for, a way to wake up Saturday morning, I'll tell you.
Yeah, well, the traders are keeping busy these days. Now, commodities going strong. That was a solid week for, copper, for example. Talk to us about how you're viewing the commodities complex as a trader as we enter this new week.
Well, it's been showtime. I mean, you can't take your eyes off the fact that we've got gold nearly at $19.50 an ounce. It's $19.45 this morning, and you've got bid up for copper, for base metals, tin, aluminium, zinc. But you've had a really nice move to the upside also for crude. We've got Brent sitting at 87.65, and I've got 81.64 for WTI. So they've had an enormous push up, and that continuation as far as probably China coming on board. We understand it's a happy new year to those, to the Lunar New Year for the Asian market, and it'll be a slow time in the sense of participation from equity markets, I think, across China. But the overall demand picture has been very strong for base metals and certainly the restocking of inventories, Nadine.
Yeah, you bring up a good point. Chinese Lunar New Year is on. And so that brings us to the Fed. The Fed speakers are now in a blackout period ahead of the next Fed meeting. Look, the data is starting to slow. So we're still seeing rise in wages, rise in inflation. However, the heat seems to be coming out of the market in terms of the economic data. And now we've got chatter that we could have the Fed again, going with a smaller interest rate increase this time around. Are we on the brink of seeing these central banks pausing?
Well, Nadine, I mean, that's a fortune teller. I'll have to put the towel over the head because I look into the crystal ball and we've got to see where we are by mid-year. I think you'll probably see maybe a 25 or a 50, who knows? I mean, we just sit here and wait and see what impact it's going to have to the market. The chart says the story or tells the story. I would hope that there's going to be a little bit of respite, but not really sure. And the worrying thought is the price of energy and how that really is, moving very strongly to the upside. So unless it's contained under $90 a barrel, there could be a lot of hurt on Main Street from an inflation side, Nadine.
Okay, so we are still, waiting and watching. The jury's out. We do get the Bank of Canada this week, and we are expecting to see yet another 25 basis point hike coming through. Retail sales there on Friday were relatively strong, all things considered. So what about the data this week? I mean, we've got inflation here, we've got global PMIs. Where will you as a trader be putting your focus?
US advanced GDP estimates, you've got those CPI numbers, and the overall, I think, observation for equity markets and seeing if they tail off over the first couple of days of the week or whether we get that strong momentum building from that big move on Friday, Nadine. So it was I think it's very much a day-by-day proposition at the moment, as far as trend and whether that continues, which is a good sign. And if that is how we're feeling towards the end of the week, then I would say optimism is here and we push away the gloom. But we'll just have to wait and see what the numbers produce. Looking at currency markets as well and the impact as far as a weakening US dollar now under 102.
Yeah, so the dollar is pretty subdued. We've got the yen retreating on Friday, but really in that broader uptrend as we get these interest rate scenarios playing out. So what else? So we've got U.S. quarterlies, we've got Tesla this week, we've got Microsoft. That's definitely going to attract a bit of attention.
Well, exactly. I mean, those big numbers hitting the market, the big firms announcing. So I want to see, sales over the last quarter, but more importantly, what their strategy is moving forward. Any announcements, as far as whether they're going to hit numbers, whether they're going to be soft earnings moving forward. We all understand PEs are forward looking. So how the impact to naturally their own stock prices and the overall impact to, the index that they sit in. So where we look at it, Nadine, we've had a very solid first 22 days of the month, and whether that's going to continue over the next 8 days, it's we've got the big numbers, and we'll just have to see the impact of the market.